RFK Jr.'s dietary guidelines dropped just last week, and there's been a lot of drama. And as a number of people have dug deeper into the guidelines and the supporting documentation, there's been a couple of revelations and developments. Dr. Kevin Klatt, who is a registered dietitian and PhD in nutrition and just a rock star, one of the most knowledgeable people I know when it comes to nutrition, he found that the guidelines exaggerate the concerns around vegan diets. So the guidelines have a list of nutrients of concern for vegans, including some things that are very surprising like magnesium. Most sources of magnesium are plant foods. And it turns out that this came from an analysis where they took a typical vegetarian diet and they removed all the dairy and all the eggs and any fortified soy foods like soy milk, but they replaced those with nothing. They just left that calorie gap. So the result, of course, was a diet low in calories and where a number of nutrients didn't meet ideal levels. But this isn't that meaningful. This is not how people eat. They don't remove a bunch of foods and eat nothing instead. They'll eat more of something else. Now, in their defense, one of the members of the committee that RFK Jr. put together, Dr. Tybiel, when this was pointed out to him on social media, he acknowledged that this is not good, that this methodology will overestimate nutrient concerns, and he even asked for a correction. I think that takes guts, publicly admitting an error and going to your own team and saying, guys, we should correct this. A lot of people, when errors are pointed out, they pretend nothing happened or they double down. Unfortunately, is common. So I respect that. Of course, as somebody else said, we're not talking about a blog post or a podcast here. These are the official national dietary guidelines for 300 million Americans. So this is supposed to have a certain level of quality and be triple checked and quadruple checked by people with a lot of background in nutrition before it goes out. So it's unfortunate that it comes out with an error like that, but we'll see if they issue a correction. The other development is an exchange between the agency that RFK Jr. directs, HHS, Health and Human Services, and Professor Christopher Gardner from Stanford. Gardner was a member of the original advisory committee that was in place when RFK Jr. came in, and RFK dismissed that entire committee, and he was very dismissive of the bulk of their work, a long report that they wrote. So there's some history here. But leaving aside all of that and feelings, Gardner wrote a critique of the guidelines, the good and the bad, very similar to what most scientists have said, very similar also to what I said in the video from last week in the broad strokes. So there's nothing in that critique that I find surprising. And HHS, the agency that RFK directs, responded to that critique on social media through one of their official accounts. This is their response: micronutrients found in butter and tallow, and then a long list of nutrients. Now, this doesn't engage with anything Gardner said in his critique. He didn't talk about nutrient content of butter or tallow. He didn't even directly talk about the health effects of butter or tallow. But just taking a look at this tweet at face value, and again, Dr. Kevin Klatt, he's all over this video. As he pointed out, this list is wildly inaccurate because butter and tallow are very poor sources of most of the nutrients on that list. So a serving of butter, which is a tablespoon, has almost no vitamin D, vitamin E, choline, selenium, zinc, or iron. And these 5 nutrients in the middle here are just a repeat. They just pasted them twice. So other than vitamin A, everything else is not found in any meaningful amount in butter. For tallow, it's even worse because tallow is also poor in vitamin A. So they got all of it wrong for tallow. Now, this is not how we determine health effects of foods anyway, just looking at lists of nutrients that they contain. This is a common marketing strategy. You see the food industry doing this a lot. Hey, our processed cereal contains all of these nutrients. Our candy bar contains all of these nutrients. Fruit Loops and Twinkies contain lots of micronutrients and minerals and vitamins, and that doesn't tell us anything about the health effect. But it's outlandish that Health and Human Services, supposedly the number one authority on health in the land, is tweeting out just completely inaccurate information to thousands of people. And it's something you can fact check with 30 seconds on Google. And even more ironic, their social media account that tweeted that out, the profile says, fighting back against fake news. Yeah, might want to start with your own content. We really don't need these stunts. A healthy diet can have some meat and dairy. We don't need this. This just looks awful. And it adds to a general perception that we have people in charge of health with no scientific understanding who think and who talk like influencers, not scientists. Here's my full review of the dietary guidelines, the good, the surprises, and the not so good. Check it out, and I'll meet you in there.